right, folks. Hour 2 of the show, and it's great to welcome John McCAIN to the program today. All right, now listen. I made a big decision here. Since we use the canned applause, I will use that same canned applause for J.D. Hayworth. So we're going to be right. We're going to be fair. We're going to be right down the line here. But it's always great to have you, and welcome back to the show. And game is on. Are you ready? Game is on.
Oh, sure, Barry. The game is on, and listen, I've been in tough races. In fact, last couple of years before this one, I was in a interesting campaign. I've always enjoyed tough races, and there's one thing they say about that a fight unjoined is a fight not enjoyed. Well. It's been joined.
Well, let's begin here. What is this fight going to be about? Is it going to come down to who's the most conservative? I mean, because that's where it seems to all be pointed right now.
Well, I think what it really comes down to for most citizens of Arizona is who can be most effective right now and in the future in the most difficult economic times we face. The issues are jobs and jobs and jobs in the economy. And I've been working hard for Arizona and Washington and trying to get credit for small business, trying to create jobs by getting a mine opened in Superior, trying to help in Snowbowl in northern Arizona, trying to make sure that our bases are protected and that our defense industries that are vital to the future of our state, continued support for TGN. In other words, all the things that what really matters to the people of Arizona right now is jobs and the economy. Secondarily, but very importantly, national security. We're in 2 wars. And I'm the guy, we talk about changing positions and all that. I'm the guy that said I'd rather lose a campaign than lose a war. And I by the way, when we Republicans regain majority in the Senate, I'll be the chairman of the Armed Services Committee in the tradition of Barry Goldwater. And so the whole key, I think, is who can be most effective to help Arizona in the most difficult times, and who is better capable to secure the national security, the military and strategic future of this country. I think that's what it's all about.
I want to ask you a couple of questions. I know that
Sure.
you have never. These are the tough questions. I get every time you're on. I get people as soon as you leave. They call them. Why didn't you ask him the tough questions? And what they really want us to do is to chew you out and throw you. That's what they say. I don't get this, but I do have to ask you a really tough question. I know that you never supported Obama's cap and trade. You've never supported.
Of course not. In fact, I attacked it when it was $683 billion in revenues and the fact that there's no nuclear power component.
Right.
And I said, look, you cannot reduce greenhouse gas emissions unless you have nuclear power. I sailed on a Navy ship that had a nuclear power plant on it. I know how badly we need nuclear power. They're closing Yucca Mountain. They won't recycle. And I have vehemently opposed that incredible thing monstrosity they passed through the House called a cap and trade bill.
But now it appears that the whole global warming science is all based on, it looks like about 80% of it's based on fraud and misinformation and scientists who tried to purposefully mislead to protect whatever they were trying to protect. And the whole thing is unraveling right now.
But I think the point is we'd all love to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. I mean, that's a nice thing to happen. We also would like to become energy independent. And none of that, in my view, is possible unless we give a robust, I'm talking about 100 nuclear power plants in the next 20 years. Because nuclear power can reduce, and offshore drilling, as you might recall during the campaign. I think it was Sarah that invented it, not me. Drill, baby, drill.
Drill, baby, drill. Right.
Yeah, I mean, So again, my record is very clear that I want to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. But we don't want to increase utility rates for every citizen of this country.
But if we knew then, if we knew today what we're, I should back up. If we knew then what we know today about these scientists and this fraud, Would you still be in favor of capping carbon emissions at the 2000 level, or
I've never
favored
it at a certain level. I've favored reducing greenhouse gas emissions for the good of. I mean, we all know that greenhouse gases are bad, but I've said in order to achieve that, we have to have nuclear power as a component of it, and certainly we can't use it as a way to raise people's taxes and utility rates. Look, I've fought it every step of the way. And if you look at the liberal media, they're all mad as hell at me because I won't join with Kerry and some of these other people that are trying to come up with some legislation. I said, look, you say you're for nuclear power, and then you announce you're closing Yucca Mountain. We spent, I believe it's $16 billion I think $6 billion over 16 years for a place to store it. And we got to recycle spent nuclear fuel. The French, the British, and the Japanese all recycle spent nuclear fuel. That going all the way back to Jimmy Carter, we won't do that, you know? I mean, it's just, look, the Palo Verde nuclear power plant is a classic example of what we can do here in the state of Arizona and across this country.
And it works.
And it works. And it's cheap. And it's clean. And it reduces our dependence on foreign oil. Look, the world's economy is going to recover, and the price of oil is going to go up again, and it's going to hurt every single American family. And unless we get, and by the way, I'm for wind, tide, solar, all of those. I know you are too. I don't know anybody that isn't. But if you look at studies, only 20% of a maximum of our renewable fuels requirements can be met by using all of those alternative sources. Nuclear power is what fills in the other 80%.
Let me ask you about McCain-Feingold. With that court ruling a few weeks ago, any changes in your feelings about McCain-Feingold, and especially with regard to what corporations can and can't do?
Of course, I regret that it was reversed. I saw corruption in Washington. I saw people like Jack Abramoff, who I investigated and we sent to jail. I saw people with soft money, chairman of committees, call up unions and business people and say, "I need a 6-figure check, and your legislation is up before my committee tomorrow." The Supreme Court decided it is what it is, and so. Look, there's still corruption there, and there will be more of it. That's how we ended up with members of Congress that were tied up with Abramoff in federal prison.
Did you think, I mean, even now, do you think there are First Amendment issues that the thing
I think
stands?
There may be. Look, the Supreme Court has decided. I don't agree with that decision, but the fact is they have decided. There are other decisions that the United States Supreme Court has made that I have not decided, but it is what it is.
These are the things that you get beaten up on.
Well, that's fine.
All the time. I mean, by Republicans. They beat you up on this all the time.
Well, the fact is I was the nominee of the Republican Party for President of the United States, so it couldn't have been a majority of the Republican Party. The legislation was in effect for several years before I ran for the nomination of the Republican Party for President of the United States. My approval ratings in the state are still in the 70s. Look, there are some people who are unhappy. I understand that. And look, all I'm going to ask people is, am I the best person to make sure that the economy of this state is improved so that we can provide jobs and business and get credit for small business people and help the people of this state get out of the most serious economic situation we're in? And with this war we're in Iraq and now in Afghanistan, am I best qualified to ensure the national security of this country? I'm ready to place my credentials before the people of the state, and I'm proud of my record, and I'm proud of the 20 to 30 point lead we have in the polls.
We're going to put some phone calls on the air in a minute.
I'll be glad to.
Senator John McCain, hang on, folks. It's KFYI. Senator John McCain is with us and back.
Service. I also served in Uncle Sam's Navy.
Thank you.
To do so. My question is, I've heard it on a couple of the talk show hosts, that you would like to remake the Republican Party in your image. And I was wondering if you could give me some pointers on what your ideas were, and you did make that statement.
Well, I will freely admit to a massive ego, but not quite to the size that I would like to remake the Republican Party. I want the party of Abraham Lincoln and Theodore Roosevelt and Ronald Reagan. It's time we return to the principles and philosophies of Ronald Reagan, and one of them is spending. My opponent voted for every earmark that came down the pike, every big spending bill, including $1 trillion unfunded liability on future generations of Americans. I have a clear record of that. And by the way, Barry, I've also meant to mention, if you ask Mitch McConnell and other Republicans who led the fight against Obamacare on the floor of the Senate day after day, week after week, John McCAIN. Mm-hmm. And I say that again with my ego. I fought against the stimulus package, but was my alternative to the stimulus package that all of the Republicans voted for. So if there's any doubt about my effectiveness in Washington, look at the record and look at what my friends and colleagues have to say and the observers have to say. Now, it's made the liberal media very angry. You know, they've been accusing me of changing positions and all that. Fact is, I haven't changed, and I've always fought hard for the things that I believe in. And I believe that if you're going to have climate change, if you're going to address the issue of greenhouse gas emissions, you need nuclear power. If you're going to have some kind of fiscal sanity, we have to have a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution. And I have fought as a fiscal conservative. And you can look across the board at whether with the Citizens for Against Government Waste or the Taxpayers Union or any other watchdog organization, there's no challenging my conservative credentials that have been consistent.
Here is, for those of you just joining us, Senator John McCain is on the air. It's KFYI. Here's Steve in New River on KFYI. Steve?
Hey, Steve, how are you?
Thanks, Barry. Thank you, Senator. I've appreciated listening to you rail against spending on the Senate floor, but talk is cheap. And like J.D. Hayworth, you voted for every one of the President Bush's big drunken sailor budgets except for one of them.
No, I didn't, Steve, and I'll be glad to send you the record. And I fought against it, and I voted against them. And whether the highway bill, the Medicare prescription drug bill, or any of the others, I will be glad to talk about the budget. Doesn't have anything to do with spending, my friend. The budget is the budget. The spending bills are the spending bills. And I thank you for the call, Steve, but I'll be glad to send you the record.
Guy in Glendale and KFYI. Guy?
Hey, good morning, Barry, and good morning, Senator McCain. Glad for your service, sir.
Thank you, Guy.
First of all, I've been looking at some, are you familiar with the Arizona Conservative Union and the National Journal? And your rankings, and your top ranking with the ACL, you're in the top 32%. J.D. Hayward was in the top 4%. And economic-wise, you were 36%. J.D. was 20%. And just in the New Jersey Journal itself, you were only 46, and J.D. was 11. In other words, you never made better than 50%, sir, on your voting record.
And I'll be glad to send you the Citizens Against Government Waste, the National Taxpayers Union, and all of the other records as well. And he was serving in the House, and I was serving in the Senate. And the thing that brought about corruption, my friend, was earmarks. I never asked for nor got a single earmark for the state of Arizona, and I'm proud of that record because earmarks are the gateway to corruption. And I thank you.
This the statistics that he's quoting, I think it's coming out of a thing that was published this morning, American Thinker. What is American Thinker? What is that?
I have no idea.
Something called American Thinker, and I believe that Drudge linked to it today, and they've got a thing about John McCain's conservative. Yes, you are. J.D. Hayworth's conservative. Yes, he is. Then they got all these rankings from the American Conservative Union. What is, I don't know, what is... You got lifetime scores. Lifetime score of the ACU, they have you at 81.43 and J.D. Hayworth at 97.56. I don't know what all that means. I don't know how they tally this. I don't know what that means.
I don't know what they're talking about, but I know about records of votes on appropriations bills and provision of earmarks, and I know that that's why I've been called the taxpayer's hero by the National Taxpayers Union, by the National Federation of Independent Business, why I've been just praised by the Chamber of Commerce and the National Association of Manufacturers for stopping this guy Becker from being nominated or he was nominated, this guy from the AFL-CIO, to be on the National Labor Relations Board, and they would have then backdoored card check if he had been confirmed by the Senate. Mm-hmm. I'm happy to say we turned them down.
How long can you stay with us? Do you have to leave at this break? Can you stay on longer? What is the schedule?
I'll have to ask my capable friends here.
Can you stay? How long can you stay? Another 50. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Sure.
So, all right, let's pause for a second. We've got a news update. We'll pause and we'll continue on with John McCain in a moment on KFYI. Senator John McCain in the studios with us this morning on KFYI. And I really don't even need to give the access number of the show, but I will. It's 602-260-KFYI for those of you who'd like to join in and be a part of the program. I'm going to take some more phone calls. John, we thought you were only going to be here for the half hour. Thank you for staying over. It's
a pleasure. I enjoy the calls.
And we'll put some more on. Mike in Phoenix and Senator John McCain. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you for taking my call. Senator, thank you for your service. I just have a quick question, sir, how you feel about the Tea Party. And my second part is how you feel about Meghan McCain's comment that the Tea Party movement were just a bunch of angry racists.
First of all, in the Tea Party movement, I think it's incredible. I think it's a manifestation of the anger and frustration that Americans feel about the way things are being done in Washington, D.C. And I would remind you that Republicans lost elections in 2006 and 2008 because we abandoned our base. We let spending get completely out of control. We abandoned the fiscal, responsible base of our party. And that's why you see this rise in independent voter registration. I'm proud to say that I fought against my own president, and I fought against the members of my own party in these big spending appropriations bills. And that's just a fact. While Congressman Hayworth voted for every one of them. But look, I think the Tea Party movement is important in America. I don't know exactly where it all ends up, but I think it's really a potent force. I think that what my daughter, who is entitled to her own opinions, and I will discuss any differences with her around the kitchen table, was speaking about the attacks by Mr. Tancredo on me and the things that he said about me. And daughters will defend their fathers when they're attacked. I'm not surprised about that. But I'd also point out that members of our family have the right to disagree or agree with us, and we have spirited discussions on various issues. But she was specifically speaking to the attacks that at the Tea Party convention Mr. Tancredo made on me. And, family members don't like to see their fathers attacked, strangely enough.
Thanks,
Mike, for the call.
There have been all these comments like the other McCain. We always hear about the other McCain. That's the big buzzword now. She's your daughter. I know she's your daughter.
What about the other Hayworth, the one that voted for all of these appropriations bills? Look,
but could she hurt you?
I have
her opinions. Could she hurt you?
Oh, my daughter's
yeah.
opinion?
Could your
I hope not.
Your opinions hurt? Could her opinions hurt you out? With the popular culture.
Not.
That
People
sort of
respect the views of young people in America. We're free to disagree with one another. It contributes to the debate. I have close friends of mine that we disagree on a specific issue or other family members, and so it's good. It's good to have differing views. But as far as the Tea Parties are concerned, I think they're a very potent and powerful force. I was proud of Sarah Palin's performance. And by the way, Scott Brown's coming to town, and we're going to arrange that everybody's going to be able to meet him. And Sarah's coming to town, and a number of, I'm very proud that she's doing so well. And the hysterical attacks on the left on her continue to amuse me and entertain me. Yeah, they can't get over her. They're so scared of her. It's amazing.
There's no question.
Yes.
See, let's get Greg from Tempe and John McCain. Greg, welcome to the show.
Senator McCain, thank you for all you've done for our great state and our great nation.
Thank you, Greg.
Hey, quick question. Do you think the immigration issue is going to be a problem for you with JD?
Look, in the last 3 years, there's a lot has happened, and the major thing is that emphasizes and dramatically we have to secure our borders first. We have to do that. John Kyle and I have called for the National Guard to be on the border. The drug cartels are threatening the very existence of the government of Mexico. There are thousands of gruesome murders that are taking place all over that Mexican border because the drug cartels are trying to take over not only the border, but Mexico. And we have to secure our borders. We must have surveillance and use the kind of technology that we used in Iraq, frankly, in the Battle of Sadr City. And we have to secure our borders. And we have to work as closely as we can with the Mexican government to try to bring the border under control, because it's going to spill over. And by the way, it is estimated to be a $65 billion a year business. You can afford a lot of corruption if you're a drug cartel with that kind of income. And unfortunately, that corruption is also occasionally spilled over to our side of the border. So we must get our border secure. I have believed that. And now with this new problem. I mean, look, not long ago, they found 13 bodies with their heads cut off. Mm-hmm. All 13 of those bodies had one thing in common. They'd been trained by the United States. Thousands of people are killed on our border, and it's a huge danger. And we ought to start worrying a little bit more about the fact that we're the demand for those drugs. We ought to start working hard on that.
The team of Obama and Napolitano, they're going to be fewer border guards under the new budget. I mean, it goes on and on. But I get on,
and there's more cuts, I understand, coming in the president's budget, and all we can do is fight and to get that restored.
You remember when Reagan was president, and the word was "let Reagan be Reagan." Just let him be him. And so if we let it's kind of a leading question, I guess, but if we let Obama be Obama, will we see a massive revolt that's being predicted in November? Do you think that could happen?
I'm confident that it's going to happen.
Could Republicans take control?
We Republicans have to provide, and we will later this spring, with a positive vision for what we will do for America, okay? And we have to be specific. Balanced budget amendment to the Constitution, absolute cuts in required cuts in spending, a strong national defense, a long list of maybe 10 of things we promise we'll enact in the first 60 days that the Republicans are in the majority. If the president wants to veto those proposals, fine. But we will. I believe we can regain control of both houses of Congress. And by the way, did you hear any positive proposal from Mr. Hayworth yesterday?
Well, okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to go sit on that side of the table for a minute. You can do that.
No, I really believe, Barry. I really believe that this can be a seminal election. But again, we Republicans, we've had positive alternatives to Obamacare. Don't get me wrong. We haven't been able to break through the media. Going across state lines, to get health insurance policies, medical malpractice reform, small businesses joining together to get health insurance policies, rewards for wellness and fitness. We have had a positive alternative, and I think that is starting to catch on too with the American people who have I am proud that in the last year, we have gone from about a 70-30 approval of Obamacare to about a 60-30 disapproval.
Is it dead?
That's the result of no. Don't think it's dead. They are trying to work this reconciliation bill. My friends out there, do not believe that the Democrats and Obama has given up. We've got to continue this fight. The only reason why we've turned it around is because the American people have risen up and said no. And I'm proud of the job in the United States Senate, day after day, week after week, even on weekends, believe it or not. We have fought against Obamacare, and I'm proud to have been a big part of that fight.
I want to squeeze one other call in here before you have to get out and get to other things this morning. Here's Clark in Goodyear on KFYI. Clark?
Hi, Senator.
Hey.
I'm a J.D. Hayworth and a Tom Tancredo fan. I won't snow you. I want to make a short list of things that I believe I've heard you say, and I'll listen off the air. I do recall hearing you say we needed a first bailout of $750 billion by Friday. Exactly were the words I heard. And then the second thing I've heard you say was Americans wouldn't pick lettuce for $50 an hour and couldn't pick lettuce for $50 an hour. I also heard you say that your amnesty bill or your immigration bill wasn't an amnesty.
All right, wait. Just hold it. It's 3. Just hold it there because we're all short on time here. But you want to tackle it?
I've talked about immigration, and we must secure our borders first, and I talked about the drug cartel situation. What I'm talking about is we need a legal temporary worker program. One of the reasons why I've rejected any immigration reform is because the Democrats won't accept now, because of the power of the unions, a temporary legal worker program. We need a temporary worker program, and perhaps I was exaggerated, but the fact is that we do need a legal temporary worker program where someone comes and works and then goes back to the country they came from after a year of working. And on the issue of TARP, look, the President of the United States said that there's a world financial meltdown. We had to do something to fix it. They did it wrong. They didn't go after the housing crisis, which is what triggered this. And I fought against the stimulus, the $780-some billion program. I'm the guy that had the Republican alternative that had to do with tax cuts. I'm proud of the role that I played in leading against the fight for the stimulus package. The TARP, most of the money has been paid back, but the fact is they bailed out Wall Street and they forgot Main Street, and it's a national disgrace.
All right, I know you got to get on to other things. Thanks for staying over a little late today. And
again, if my daughter or members of my family defend me, all I can say to you is thanks to the members of my family. We disagree on a lot of issues, but we sure have a lot of spirited conversations. And I'm really glad to be back on the show with you, Barry and Michelle. Thanks for the great job you do.
All right, doors open. Come back. Senator John McCain. It's KFYI.